Sometimes I wonder why I break my own balls so fucking much. Yes, today I'm doing a double review on 2 games that take hundreds of hours to beat because fuck my social life. Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 are actually quite different from one another, but I will try my best to keep it short and focus on the main resemblance and differentiality. In the first one, you play as Source Hunter. Source Hunter are tasked to hunt down sorcerer because sorcerers are capable of using and manipulating the source, which is a power that tends to corrupt its user. At first, your little party of source hunter are assigned to investigate a consular murder, but you get quickly tangled up in a bigger adventure where you will have to restore time itself since a creature called the Void is making time shrink. Now onto the second game that is set 1000 years after the first one, where, plot twist, you control a squad of sorcerers. In this one, sorcerers aren't corrupted by the source anymore, but the utilization of the source is now somehow connected with the appearance of an evil monster called Voidwoken, meaning that it's still prohibited to use the source, but instead of being murdered on the spot, sorcerers are forced to wear a collar that blocks their power and they are thrown in prison, which lead me to the beginning of the story. You start your journey as prisoner with main goal of escaping, but again, that tangle up in a bigger story, now about gods and being a godwoken. Additionally, recruitable character all have their side story. By recruitable character, I exclude mercenary, but nobody that I know that played this fucking game have ever used a mercenary anyway. The cool thing with those characters with pre-existing story is that you can start with one of them in Divinity Original Sin 2, while in the first one you are forced to start with a custom character. Anyway, with or without them, the story, as much as the lore around it, is long, complex, and rich. While the overall story is interesting, some part of the storyline feel a little bit slow and lack of punch. The same goes for side quests. Some are really interesting and some are fucking boring. There is a good chance that you rush part of the game. The thing is that it's not the kind of game that you want to rush, since there's a lot of decision making that will affect your squad for the rest of the game, especially when it comes to experience. Since enemies don't respawn, you want to maximize the experience that you get out of every single quest. After all, you finish the game at around level 20, so gaining some extra level is a huge advantage. You get into the dilemma, do I rush part of the game and hope that it doesn't affect too much your gameplay, or you get through all the dialogue, even the boring one, and you take the time to talk to every single NPC to see which one got quests, which one are merchant, and which one are killable. The game forces you to explore all the map to find experience or anything that can give you an edge in combat, and they won't take you by the end. Bitch, go around, talk to people and try stuff. While I'm on the subject of NPC, I must say that very often you come across fascinating NPC, whether it's an imp racist against other imp, a staff with multiple personality, or a cub that will fuck you up emotionally. It's always refreshing to see that kind of originality spread a little bit everywhere. Moving on to the gameplay, the game is a hardcore turn-based RPG that takes a lot of inspiration from D&D, not just in the style but also in its complexity. It requires a lot of management, from your inventory to your equipment to your skill, stat, talent, and personality trait. You will be constantly juggling between the story, your character, and the battle. Yep, because it's not because your character is OP as fuck that they can be wiped out in one turn. As much as it sounds retarded, I'm dead serious. Sometimes you get wiped out because you try to fight people that are higher level than you, but often what's gonna drastically change the equation is where you position yourself and how you engage the fight. Having all your little group next to each other turn 1 can be extremely punishing. Obviously, it's not the kind of game where you power grind the same enemy for hours, then whack every other mobs in straight line using the same tactic. While we are talking about strategy, let's talk about character building. Except for the supporting cast in the first game, all of your team members will start blank, and you will have to figure out what kind of comp you want and work. You might want a balanced team, like a cleric, a fighter, a mage, and a ranger. Then you realize that this comp suck dick, so you only take a fighter and a mage with both the talent lone wolf, so they both get a huge buff for having less party member in your team. Also, it's not because you have a ranger that you cannot put a point in pyromancy and have a spell in this ability. If you feel like splitting your combat point in 2, 3, 4 or 5 skill, go for it. Also, in the second game they added more skill, and now you can play other race with talent and buff proper to that race. By the way, talking about race, I wanna use the platform that I got to beg for a DLC. I wanna play a fucking imp. I don't give a shit how much they charge for it. Now that this is out of the way, back to gameplay stuff. I've talked about it earlier, but the game is not balanced. Some type of character are better than other. And I know that it sounds bad to say that the game is not balanced, but it's really cool to try and see what worked and what really worked, pushing your analyzation skill to the maximum. Also, I wasn't surprised at all to see a game with so much freedom and possibility being beat in less than 30 minutes by some speedrunner. But stay calm if you play casually, there is close to no chance that you will come close to breaking the game as much as they do. I want to finish with a mishmash of all the major difference between the two games. In the first one, personality trait had to be obtained through decision making, which was annoying because sometimes you wanted two different traits on your two main character, and at the same time you wanted to choose the outcome that you would get. They removed that shit in the second game. They also tuned down trap, but to keep the difficulty up, now the AI is way smarter and will focus the fuck out of your squishy team member. There is so much enemy that can teleport themselves or teleport your character in or out of range. Look at this shit! Look at this! They also changed the action point system. In the first one, the amount of EP you had get were calculated based on your constitution, speed, and perception. They now block your max AP at 6 and your AP regen at 4 per turn. Changing the attribute speed for memory. Now the number of skill you can have is determined by your memory and not your skill level like in the first one. Overall, the two games aren't made for everyone. If you don't want to break your balls too much on a video game, that shit ain't for you. But if you like freedom, a deep lore, a ton of possibility, like the ability to play a turn-based RPG with friends, this is the game for you. If I had to pick one between the two of them, I would probably take the second for a couple of minor improvements. Also, you can play at 4 instead of just 2 for the first one. Don't worry, you can start by the second. You don't need to have played the first one to understand it. On this note, give me my fucking imp and have a nice day.